How's it going, guys? Today we actually have a list of new PvP tuning changes. It is long overdue. It's so long overdue that I'm actually surprised it even happened. It seems like we've been kind of ignored for so long that I just kind of assumed that it wouldn't happen. So at this point, it's kind of a nice little surprise. So we'll be ending the season with like hopefully a little bit more of a balanced patch. Also potentially a little disappointing at the same time, you know, knowing that we did just have a big tournament and, you know, maybe the changes that are listed here would have affected our outcome, but maybe it would have been in a negative way as well. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Can't be too upset about it. I personally think that Blizzard is doing a pretty bad job with communication in terms of PvP changes. And it would go such a long way. Just saying, you know, we recognize that this is overpowered. We understand that this is underpowered. You know, we do plan on doing changes. Changes should come out on this date, you know, something to kind of give people, you know, some sort of hope. But I will say that I think that these changes specifically were paused for so long because they didn't want to mess with the tournament. They kind of said, this is the meta for the tournament. We're not going to change it. And I think if that was said publicly, that would have really pissed off a lot of people, okay? The tournament is 8 teams, 4 people a team. You guys do the math because I would probably get it wrong. And it's a very, very small number. So to not, as someone in the tournament, I really appreciate it. But as everyone else who's not in the tournament, you could understand why some people would be frustrated if you're queuing ladder and you're queuing shuffle. And if you don't even care about the tournaments, that would kind of piss you off. So we're going to go ahead and go over these changes. Some changes are a change for the class as a whole, and they might have the does not affect PvP tab. But some are like, you know, overall changes that do affect PvP. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. So rejuve healing increase does not affect PvP combat. Sure. And then the first thing you notice here is after your boy, the only preservation evoker left standing in the AWC, barely losing AWC in the smallest of margins. There was 2v3s. It was back and forth. We get some preservation buffs. Too little, too late. So one thing I'll talk about here is time of need. Time of need's clone overall healing increased by 100%. It's hard to say if this talent's actually going to be good because I've seen it do really well and I've also seen it do really poorly. The problem, in my opinion, with time of need is that it only procs when you hit 20% health. If this was changed to like 35%, you know, something similar to Nature's Guardian, it could be really insane. But let's go ahead and take a look here at the time and need talent. Also keep in mind that time and need is a really, really hard talent to take. And if we're going to take this talent, so for example, if I'm playing Flow State next patch, we'll probably have to do something like this. And now we just lost Spark of Insight, which is really, really, really important. And we also lost Big Fire Breath, which is really nice for the damage as well as the extra purge. So it is kind of difficult to take. So this says it instantly heals him for 82,000. That being buffed up, this being doubled to a 200k heal is actually a very, very significant change. And it probably makes you want to take this talent every single time. What I will say is that I feel like it's really hard to drop Spark of Insight. I would almost rather do that because sometimes I already play with 1 out of 2 Renewing Breath. But if you decide to play the Living Flame damage build next patch, which is something that you're going to want to do because it's kind of baked into your tier set, you're in a impossible decision because you need Energy Loop for mana and Spark of Insight is also mana. But if you want to play 2 out of 2 Life Force Mender, like it's just putting you in a really tough spot. But after seeing how much this actually heals for, that 100k being 200k, then on top of that, the Living Flame healing is increased by 16%. And also, I think there's like some sort of hidden scaling where that Living Flame healing also increases with Life Force Mender. It's what I've experienced in the past. I could be wrong. It may have been changed, whatever. It means that the Living Flames actually start to heal for a lot. So this could be a pretty big change. Life Giver's Flame now heals 40-80. Completely irrelevant. I don't even know why they would change that. Inherent resistance, magic damage taken increased to 4-8. This is something that I actually play when I want to be tanky, and that is a shit ton of magic damage reduction. Straight up a shit ton. Going from 4 to 8. Alright, so there are clone procs to heal us for 87k, and then you can see the Living Flame start pumping. So there's a good chance this talent's actually pretty powerful next patch. Probably something that you're going to see played. But yeah, this talent I think is almost going to be like a must take. So like right now, this is like my Living Flame build. It's pretty simple. You swap like a couple points around like that, for example, and you have it. 8% magic damage reduction is so much. That is worth 16% versatility in terms of reduction. That is, in my opinion, one of the biggest changes that Preservation is getting. And then Attune to the Dream is now going to increase your healing from 4 to 6. And so healing done, healing received. So you have double benefit on yourself, which is actually pretty nice because you do want to be higher on HP to potentially keep your Zen focus up if you're playing the embellishment, or just keep your HP above your teammates' HP. That way you always get full value out of mastery. So that is pretty important. So these two changes right here, pretty nice. And honestly, maybe even this one. I mean, these changes, after rereading them, they're more significant than I thought. I already think that Preservation is going to be one of the stronger healers next season, just based on the fact that I think their strongest tier set was in Season 1. And the people have voted, thank you, for Season 1 tier set. Now, I'll mention this. So in Season 1, the 2 set used to be Empower spells, increase reversions like critical strike chance. Now it is just a flat healing increase. So every single time you use an Empower spell, your reversions are healing for more. And having more reversions out is allowing you to get instant cast Living Flame. Now, what's crazy about the instant cast Living Flame is Blizzard nerfs tier sets by 50%. But what's going to happen is you read it, reversion is a chance to make your next Living Flame instant and deal 20% increased damage. What's going to happen is it's going to be instant and it's going to deal 10% increased damage or healing. They effectively can't or won't or aren't going to nerf the instant effect of that 4 set. So you're basically running around with essentially unnerfed tier, if that makes sense. It's like one of those weird ones where they're only nerfing a very small percentage of what the tier set's actually doing. And it procs all the time, and it makes like that 10% extra, it makes your Living Flames really good. It's good for defense, it's good for offense. The tier set's cracked. So I already thought Preservation was looking really strong for next season. These buffs on top of it are just very nice to have. Will they be OP? It's hard to say because they do have fundamental flaws, and Blizzard recognizes that. Like right here in the notes, it says they're being underutilized in part due to the range restrictions of the specialization to help compensate. So basically, they're stating that we understand this the spec has these restrictions, so they do need compensation for the restrictions. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. Marksman Hunter damage increased by 3%. No one cares. Survival increased by 3%. No one cares. Doesn't do anything. Flurry damage increased by 25%. I don't think it's a big deal. 25% on Water Bolt. Don't think it's a big deal. Ice Lance, Frostbolt. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't know exactly how much this matters, but I don't think I've ever died to a Frost Mage unless it was a Frost Bomb or a Ray of Frost. So it seems kind of hard to, justify that. Mistweaver, all healing reduced by 6%. Good thing that wasn't affected by PvP combat. Shulan's healing increased by 6%. I think it's pretty minor because I think the ability is already really good and doesn't matter. I don't know why, but Jade Fire Stomp healing and damage, I'm pretty sure that's nothing. 6% more of nothing is nothing. And then Expel Harm healing increased by 6%. I also think that is kind of irrelevant. It actually is a pretty big heal, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it matters. Sub doesn't affect PvP combat. Elemental doesn't affect PvP combat. So here are the actual player versus player changes, okay? And as someone who was just in AWC, to see this wall of text for how we're going to nerf Demon Hunter after just losing to a Demon Hunter in a tournament, it is what it is, boys. It is what it is. But here we go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you like some of these talents on Demon Hunter. You might not have realized, but like Demon Hunters have these talents that just passively made them unbelievably tanky by just clicking a freaking point in the talent tree. And I think Blizzard is addressing the proper things here. So Demon Hunter damage is very good, and it is going to get nerfed a little bit, but the passive tankiness I also think is a big deal. So let's go ahead and start with something that's not being nerfed that I want to show you guys. So I don't know if you guys realize this, but Demon Hunters passively, this is their racial. Essentially, your tattoos reduce magic damage taken by 10%. Take me to the fucking barbershop, because I want some tattoos. So just from being tatted the fuck up, see those bad boys right there? That's 10% magic damage reduction. Now, you might not have knew that existed. On top of that, Demon Hide. Let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy, Demon Hide. Well, well, well. Magic damage increased by 3%, and physical damage taken reduced by 5%. So now, they're taking 10% less damage from magic, and they're taking 5% less physical. That sounds pretty insane. Okay, well, guess what? It gets better. Scars of Suffering. Look at this. Increased versatility by 4%. Just one click of a freaking button. That is 2% damage reduction to all sources with one button. Now they're at 12% magic reduction and 7% physical damage reduction. All right, it gets better. Illidari Knowledge. Reduce magic damage taken by 5%. So these guys are literally running around with 17% less magic damage taken. Just default from existing. Will of the Illidari. 5% maximum health. That's pretty nice. So all these like talents that just made them too tanky, right here they lost 2% physical, 1% to everything, 2% more magic, 2% less HP. And to be honest, this might not even be enough. But I'd rather see smaller changes than huge changes and all of a sudden Demon Hunters become a little bit irrelevant. Essence Break is one of their biggest burst win conditions. They reduced this modifier a tiny bit. And then for some reason, you hate to see this, guys, after almost winning AWC, for some reason, their tier gear that shits out a throw glaive every time they press their regular damage rotation was not nerfed by 50%. This was supposed to be nerfed by half, and it was doing twice as much damage as it should have been. Twice as much. Every Blade Dance throws out a throw glaive, it's your number one damage, essentially. Soul Scar, this scales based off the throw glaive damage. Throw glaive causes the target to take 100% of its damage dealt. Guess what? If that throw glaive is doing 50% less damage, that Soul Scar is doing 50% less damage. Soul Scar, throw glaive. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. These should matter. We'll see. I think Demon Hunters will still be good, but they should matter. So Blizzard decided that Adaptive Swarm can no longer be used in Arena Prep. Basically, what you could do with Adaptive Swarm is you could come out of the gates with like a 3-stack, 3-stack, 3-stack on your entire team of Adaptive Swarm. Sometimes in best case scenario, I've had like a 5-5-4. So I've had 14 stacks of Adaptive Swarm in the first second of the arena game starting up. They decided to remove that. And they also decided to remove pre-stacking your reforestation. So you would come out of the gates with 2 stacks of reforestation. Your first Swiftmen would extend your tree by 10 seconds. You'd have 14 stacks of Adaptive Swarm. This is actually pretty reasonable nerfs to Resto Druid. That basically puts them with Adaptive Swarm, all those stacks, you could be 25 to 50 seconds behind in Adaptive Swarm HOTS, but you're 30 seconds behind in reforestation stacks. They have buffed Frenzy Regen for Feral and Balanced Druid, and, you know, obviously I play with a Balanced Druid, and I feel like Sam takes, you know, Sam takes a beating. All right, Sam takes a good old-fashioned beatdown. Feral Druids and Balanced Druids, in my opinion, needed this, but look at this number. It was reduced by 37.5%. Like, I don't even think this is enough for Ferals, but good lord, it's a start. Ferals are the squishiest class in Arena, and their only healing was nerfed by 40%. Seems a little, you know, overkill, but whatever. Resto Druids are still nerfed by 50% in PvP combat. I don't know what this means. Fix an issue that caused reactive resin to apply to the Resto Druid if heal over time's effect were dispelled after being spell stolen. What the fuck, bro? You're telling me if you made a mage spell stole my HOTS, I would get my own debuff? That seems kind of sus. Wild Attunement no longer activates when Cyclone is cast on an immune target. Oh, that's kind of interesting. So basically, if they clone to clone, they would get another Wild Attunement. Beast Mastery, kill shot damage increase. Nobody wants to see BM Hunters get buffed. Literally not a single person in the entire world. But I guess, you know, it is what it is. Survival Hunters are taking a little bit. Oh, this is actually a really big buff. Oh my gosh. I don't know how good these abilities are, but It is a 5% buff instead of an 11% nerf on 2 abilities, plus the 3% earlier that they got from the top. So that actually seems pretty significant. I don't think the math works out to being exactly like a 16% buff, but apparently they're pretty good abilities. That seems really nice for Survival Hunters, a class that I haven't really seen too much of in this expansion. So, you know, Jelly Bean stocks rising. This man's gonna start, you know, putting together a team. Ring of Fire nerfed. I'm not gonna lie, man. I feel like Ring of Fire was insane, bro. Like, okay, maybe insane is a strong word. Ring of Fire was very powerful. It was a very potent spell. I'm kind of glad to see it got nerfed. Prismatic Barrier now reduces magic damage taken and reduces duration of incoming CC. Double nerfed. I don't know how much it matters. Whatever. I have no idea how important these buffs are, but let's just start by this. If an ability needs to be buffed by 800%, that is some dog shit. Holy crap, that ability fucking sucks. This ability is almost buffed by 1,000%. That is insanity how bad that ability is. Wow. But yeah, I don't know how significant these changes are for fire mages. I think fire mages have some really crap design in this expansion so far, because the only time I've seen a fire mage be threatening is with like glass cannon, and I think glass cannon is just like the absolute like worst shit I could ever think of. Like, for lack of better words, you're a glass cannon. You're running around doing the most damage, but you just take the absolute fucking, you know, dickums. I think that queuing a fire mage as glass cannon and soul shuffle should be a fucking crime. You should go to jail for that. Because every single time I queue with a fire mage and soul shuffle with 700,000 HP and they get absolutely, like, they literally proc caught in the opener, I just want to rip my hair out. Like, it is just absolutely miserable. Mistweavers are struggling. Fistweavers are not. Mistweavers are. I don't know if this is enough. They buffed Vivify by 10% essentially. Invigorating Mist. I don't even know what that is, man. What is that? What is Invigorating Mist? I actually have no idea. It's when you Vivify. Oh, okay. It's the second part of the Vivify heal. So basically, Vivify got a double buff. That's not bad. Soothing Mist also got a buff. Although, generally speaking, this doesn't matter because, like, you're never really casting Soothing Mist. But the Soothing Mist on the statue could add up. Probably not enough to actually matter. But yeah. Okay, so this is actually interesting. I will say that I do think Holy Pallies were not very threatening in terms of the damage they could deal, but I also don't think it's their only problem. But regardless, 70% buff on Denounce. Denounce might hit pretty freaking hard now. Granted, it's still a PvP talent. It's still a cast. It might be hard to do, but I think it's nice to have the option. Judgment does 50% more damage. I couldn't tell you how hard that ability hits. 50% seems like a decent number. This is something I struggled with when I was playing Holy Pally, like when they were all the rage last season for some amount. Greater Judgment just felt kind of like weirdly inefficient compared to using your infusion on like a flashlight, because essentially it's not mana efficient. So getting more healing out of the Greater Judgment while also it dealing more damage is actually going to make it feel like kind of a nice ability to press. Someone said with the Denounce Tout in the tree, they think it'll be 130 to 150,000. Oh, that's good. All right, RM Pal, anybody? This right here is just absolutely laughable. I mean, like, Dispriest could be arguably the worst healer right now, and you're going to give me a smite damage increased by 25%. You might as well write "fuck you" if you main Dispriest. Sorry, Dispriest mains out there. This is a good old fashioned "fuck you." No notes would have been better, honestly. Outlaw, the reset evasion got nerfed. I don't even know what precision shot is, but it seems like it got buffed. But I could be wrong. It's 2% more damage taken for the rogue. Okay, so rogues take 2% more damage and have evasion less. I don't think that's enough, but to like shift them out of the meta. And then, honestly, this talent was insane. Take Your Cut was crazy. Basically, power infusion with no cooldown. So, they reduced the haste of it, and they also reduced the duration of it. Still going to be really crazy. It was a necessary nerf. Probably could have even been a stronger nerf. Healing Surge increased by 25%. I will say those enhancement shamans out there are struggling. I don't know if this is enough to make them not struggle. You guys might not like me for this, but dude, I'm telling you right now, 15-second cooldown on port with a 6-second fucking freedom and a 50% sprit was ridiculous. But as someone who played Warlock it's also ridiculous that people get back to you so fucking fast. I don't know. I'm torn because I feel like warlocks are somehow so fucking mobile, but also suck so bad into cleaves at the same time. I don't understand it, but yeah, that shit was really annoying to deal with. Flame Rift got nerfed. I think this is like fear damage threshold got nerfed. Execute damage increased by a little bit. I feel like there's a world where arms might be like okay if like Outlaw Rogue and DH fall off a little bit. Like it might be one of the alpha melees. Because Arms Warrior paired like pretty decently well with DH. Could this be the rise of jungle with ferals being a little bit more tanky and survival hunters seeming like they're getting a pretty decent buff? Could this be the rise of turbo with some of the other melee getting nerfed, enhanced getting buffed, warriors getting a little buff? Could this be the rise of preservations? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs, honestly. I think overall these are pretty decent changes. I think Holy Pally's probably needed like a little bit like of a healing increase. I think Holy Priest deserved to be on these notes. I think Discipline got, laughed at. Where the fuck are Death Knight? Where's the Death Knight dev, bro? Where is the Death Knight dev, man? He is somebody fucking, call the police and have him do like a fucking search because he's locked in a closet somewhere, man. He's having a tough time. Overall, not bad changes, honestly. I'm excited that we got some. And hopefully we can, finish the season out strong with like a little bit of a more balanced patch. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and good luck to all you guys out there. That you never be lonely. Be the band, that's what